There's one thing that we have seen about the human body to be true time and time again. And on this week's episode of the Exercises Health Podcast, we want to share with you what that is. We're going to keep our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health Podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing the one universal truth that we have seen to be true time and time again about the human body. We want to let you know if what we are discussing today is of interest to you, you want to take action on it, you would like our guidance, helping you to implement what we discussed today. That is exactly what we can help you do at Muscle Activation Schaumburg using muscle activation techniques. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. There you'll find a big green button you can click that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. So, you may have heard this idea before of after a surgery or after, a certain period of time in your life, your body is not going to change at all. There's not going to be any more room for progress. So you're not going to be able to get any better. After this age, you're just done. You're tapped out. There's no changing. After this many months, post-surgery, you're just not going to make any more progress. And we've heard that come up a lot. We've heard that from other professionals. We've heard that from clients who have heard it from other professionals. And we're here to tell you that that is just not true. Because there's one thing that we have seen to fly in the face of those ideas. Time and time again, we've seen it throughout our entire career. And we see it every single day. And that is that the human body has the ability to change. It has the ability to change. Your body has the ability to change, given that it's provided the right stimulus and that you're focusing on the right things. And that's what we want to talk with you about today.
That's right. One thing that what Charlie was saying that we hear a lot is after, 2 years, there's not going to be any change on that knee anymore. So make sure you do all the work within that 2 years or whatever the area might be. And so something that's interesting was I was actually talking to a client maybe 8 months ago about this, and then just recently about this, how when a lot of us are told hey, you've got 6 months to make change on this, or you've got until you're 50 to build all your strength, or there's these deadlines, right? A lot of us then in our minds give ourselves the pass to stop working on them, or your insurance covers therapy for them until that time. And so of course you're not going to make strength changes when you're not working on your strength. You're not going to make function changes when you're not working on your function. You're not going to improve that hip or knee mobility or your arm mobility, whatever the area is, if you stop working on them. But we do know that in the human body, it is this constant adaptable thing, right? So it is always changing to be more similar or be more appropriate in response to its environment. So if you're giving your body these stimuluses to get weaker, to be really good at sitting, to not use your muscles, to never get up and off the ground, or to never, whatever it is, you're going to adapt in that way. You're going to get weaker. You're going to lose muscle. You're going to lose bone density. You're going to lose joint function. You're going to lose your proprioception or coordination, your ability to do those things. But if you're regularly, no matter what timeline you're on, if you're regularly saying, hey, we got to keep this muscle strength, we got to keep this joint function, or we got to keep improving this area, that's the way your body's going to change. And so today's podcast is all about your body is always going to be changing no matter what age, no matter what traumas or influences you've had that you feel has set you back. It's always going to change relative to what you are providing your body.
Exactly. I had a client who had a knee replacement, and after the knee replacement, the physical therapist were telling her, okay, you have 6 months to get your range of motion back. And if after 6 months, however much range of motion you have in that knee, that's just where it's going to be. Well, 4 years later, we're still seeing changes and improvements in the range of motion in her knee. There's not this hard and fast deadline of okay, well, after this many months, that's just, all you're ever going to get. 8 times that what was given, right? They said 6 months, we're at 4 years now. We're still seeing changes in the amount of knee motion that she has. So this is something that we've seen, again, our entire careers, we see it every single week, working with clients of all different ages, all different ability levels, all different, levels of physical fitness. And the thing that we have seen, why the common ideas of like you only have this much time to make these changes, why those just don't hold true, is because most people are not focusing on the right things of what they can actually change. All right. And so the thing within your body that can change the fastest is going to be your muscles. Your muscles, how your nervous system interacts with your muscles, the strength and function of your muscles. That's going to be the thing within your body that can change the fastest and that can change over the longest period of your life as well. I mean, we see people, a guy coming in who's in his mid-90s. We still see changes in his strength. We still see improvements in his strength, okay? And so regardless of your age, regardless of, what has happened to your body from a surgery standpoint or anything like that, the things that can change the fastest and the things that will change for the longest period of time in your life from a positive perspective are your muscles, the strength of your muscles and the function of your muscles. And that happens to be our focus here working with our clients, is improving the strength and function of their muscles. And so we'll want to really kind of hammer home with this is that if you want to keep seeing changes within your body from a positive perspective, whether it's joint range of motion, whether it's feeling like you can keep doing the things you want throughout your life, whether it's, being able to do activities without pain, the thing that you need to be focusing on are your muscles, the strength and function of your muscles. If you want to change your body, you need to prioritize changing your muscles. Change the strength of your muscles in a positive way and change the function of your muscles in a positive way. And those are the keys that we have seen to allow people to continue to make changes to their body far outside of what the normative rules are of how long they should be able to make changes with their body.
That's right. And muscles are really exciting to Charlie and I. It's what we specialize in, but it's also exciting because they change so quickly. I think a lot of times we look at things like our bones or our joints and we're like, well, those are going to take forever to remorph. Yes, your bone spur that you have, that probably took 40 years to develop. And so, yes, your bones do change. Or, the osteoporosis you have, it probably took, 30, 40 years to develop. It didn't just happen overnight. Or your arthritis that you have in your joints, that took years and years and years of exposure to change. The cool thing with muscles is that they can change super quickly. The state of your muscles and their ability to function can change really quickly. We know this because with muscle activation techniques, MAT, that we do all day long, every day, we are changing people's systems within 30 minutes, within an hour, whatever length of session time we're having, and people are feeling better. Things that are like, oh my gosh, my knee hurts just because I have arthritis. Well, we change the muscles in 30 minutes and your knee feels loads better. Okay, so how much of that was really the arthritis versus just the state of your muscle system? So we encourage you to keep working on the strength and the function of your muscles and just focus on that, because that is something that you are able to directly change right now if you wanted to. Like if you're listening to this and you are, doing your strength training or getting an MAT session, then you are working on your muscle system right now. And that is that's like the first domino in the effect of like, oh, this is what's going to change my joints way down the road. This is what's going to change, how my strained tendons and my irritated ligaments are feeling. That is the first domino, because that's where we can make change right now, working on the strength and function of your muscles.
Exactly. So how do we go about doing this? Well, the first thing that we always start with is muscle activation techniques. And the reason why this is so important is because it's going to allow us to identify where within your body you have muscles that aren't working well, that aren't doing their job, that aren't coming to play. And because of that, it's causing other muscles to have to overwork, so you're compensating for those. It's causing your joints and your more passive tissues, your ligaments, your discs, your tendons, your cartilage, your fascia, to have to take on more stress. And oftentimes when that stress builds up enough, we call that pain. We see inflammation in the areas. all because you have muscles that aren't working well. And so with the muscle activation techniques process, we're able to identify which muscles within your body you have that aren't working well, that aren't doing their job, and causing these other muscles to have to overwork, tighten up, to joints to be painful, not move well, everything like that. And we can address those muscles directly. We can improve their function, we can improve their strength output, we can get them working better, doing the job that they're supposed to do, which then allows the other muscles that are having to do too much to relax more, which allows the joints and the tendons and the ligaments and the cartilage and the fascia that's taking on too much stress to start to have some stress relieved so they can actually heal, they can actually get better and stronger. And that's all done within the MAT process.
You're right, Charlie. MAT is so important because all of us kind of live our lives either not using our body enough or using some parts of our body incorrectly, or we've been in compensatory patterns, or some of us are like overdoers, right? We like do way too much. And so MAT kind of brings us back to baseline. It makes sure that muscles are doing the job they're supposed to do so that your joints are getting tugged on in a very even and symmetrical way. That's what makes joints feel really good. It makes sure that, you know, your fascial bands, like your IT band, for example, or your plantar fascia under your foot, those areas aren't getting tugged on too hard. It rebalances the forces and the stresses coming through your body. That's what our muscles are supposed to do. So the more that we get muscles turned on, awake, however you want to think about it, uninhibited, activated, the more that your body's going to be in balance. And when your body's in balance and everyone's doing their job, or we're regularly pushing your body for all the muscles to be doing their job, that's how you feel that feeling of looseness and lightness and, oh, I don't feel my joints. Oh, I forgot about my shoulder issue. You know, we don't feel joints that feel good, right? We feel joints that feel bad. And so MAT is what helps your body return back to, hey, all my muscles are working, things are feeling supported. I'm not feeling tightness. I'm not feeling that achiness. I'm not feeling, you know, this imbalance or this weakness over here. Like I can't lift my leg or something like that. So MAT is definitely the first step in saying, hey, let's get muscles all turned on and ready for action so that you're not having the symptoms in your body that you were feeling at one point.
Exactly. And then once we can get them all playing the game that they're supposed to play, it's like, okay, cool. Now let's increase their capacity. Let's increase their output. Let's increase what they are capable of, doing very specific strength training, utilizing our 4 exercise for life principles, but really making sure that we are loading the muscles with, you know, as heavy of weight as they are able to comfortably tolerate, and do so in a way that is safe, that is still very challenging for the body, but that, you know, the person can recover from and recover from quickly, so they're able to come back and do it again in a relatively short period of time. And so strength training is such a critical piece of this entire puzzle, because having a bunch of muscles that are turned on and functioning well is awesome, but we want to make sure that we can keep pushing what our body is currently able to do, because one thing that we know is if you don't keep pushing closer and closer to your capacity, towards your upper limits start regressing down to the things that you continuously expose your body to. And so if you're not continuously exposing your body to high levels of force, to high challenges for your muscles, your body's not going to have a reason to keep the ability to overcome high levels of force, to overcome high levels of challenge for your muscles. And what this looks like in everyday activity gets more difficult. Your body starts feeling like it's getting weaker. And so you do this for a long enough period of time, and we wake up one day and we're like, wow, I lost a lot of strength. Wow, I lost a lot of ability. And so in order to combat that, making sure that you are continuously challenging yourself on a regular basis, multiple times throughout the week, again, utilizing our 4 exercise for life principles with your strength training, it's a really, really key part of this entire equation.
Charlie, you brought up such an interesting point there where, you know, when we're losing strength, it's almost like one day we wake up and we're like, oh my gosh, like all these things are hard. I've lost a lot of strength. And what that usually turns into, I mean, not for you guys listening, because you guys are like always thinking about your health and all that, but it's like a lot of us then start to blame age. And we're like, oh my gosh, the stairs are hard at my house now because, you know, I'm just getting old. Or, yeah, well, of course, gardening is difficult to get on the ground because I'm just getting old. And really, if we looked at that, yes, everyone's getting older every day, but also what are you regularly exposing your body to? And what we find is that you've got to be regularly practicing getting close to your upper limits of challenge, of difficulty, of force, of your weights, so that you can keep that. And it's not saying that we should plow through it. And, you know, a lot of times when I say heavy weights, especially to certain people, they're like, oh, that means I'm going to get injured. It doesn't mean you're going to get injured. It just means we're going to practice close to that upper limit so that you can keep it, so that you're not getting close to your daily activities. When your strength ability gets really close to the requirements for your daily living, like walking the grocery store, getting in and out of the car, lifting up your crock pot, gardening, weeding, mowing the lawn, those types of things, when your strength gets close to that level of strength, that's when all those activities get really hard. So we want your strength and your ability, your muscles' capacity to handle stuff to be way higher than that. So that way, those daily activities don't feel so difficult.
Exactly. You know, I was looking at videos of myself back when I was in college and, you know, watching the weights that I used while I lifted and everything like that. And it's so interesting because, you know, over the past, call it year and a half to 2 years, like I've been on a personal mission to get back to jumping and dunking how I felt I was in college and kind of early to mid 20s. And when I look at my strength levels in my early to mid 20s versus now, I was way stronger then. I was way stronger then, even though like I feel like I consistently challenge myself, you know, with my workouts now. But I was looking like I was squatting, you know, I was squatting 435 and the bar basically jumped off my back because I shot up so fast, like I could move it so easily. I remember, you know, one day at the health club I was working at, it was a 6,500 pound challenge is what I did. So it was 10 squats at 315, immediately followed by 10 deadlifts at 335 for time. And I did it in under like 2 minutes. Like I did it in an insanely fast time. I was like 10 reps at 315, immediately to deadlifts, 10 reps at 335. And I'm like, I couldn't do that right now. And so I was like, well, why would I expect that the cumulative ability that I would have of jumping and dunking, which is essentially the end product of me getting much stronger, why would I expect that would be the same when my strength levels aren't even the same?
Yeah.
And I feel like I consistently challenge myself. I was like, okay, cool. Like I need to start taking things up a notch. And so now over the past, 4 weeks, I'm like, okay, I need to start, taking things up a notch with my workouts, and I can feel my body changing. I can feel my body getting closer to how it was. I'm not there yet, but I'm going in that direction because I kind of recalibrated what I needed to be doing, where I was at. And I was like, okay, now the benchmark has been set of like, all right, these are the numbers I need to hit. This is how I was moving it, at this stage of my life. If I want to move that way now, I got to be, these are the things I got to be doing. And so, even for us, for myself, it's something that we run into, with ourselves is like, oh, like, is this, am I just in the stage of my life where, every day I'm just getting worse? It's like, no, dude, you're just in the stage of life where like, you're not challenging yourself as much as you once were. And so you get back to challenging yourself the way you once were, you're going to move the way that you once did. And so that's been really cool to see and experience.
Charlie, as you're saying that, I'm kind of thinking of like the principle, that we're bringing up here. And it's kind of like, I was thinking, a lot of us look at our life and we think about like the fruits that we get to enjoy. Like for you, it's like, I want to jump and feel bouncy and like I can spring really high. For some people, that is like, I want to be able to run a marathon. For some people, that might be, I want to, play with my dogs and feel free. I want to, whatever it is in your life that you want to be doing, skiing, traveling, just taking a walk and not feeling your knees holler at you. Whatever those fruits are, sometimes it's good to practice those fruitful things. Like you practice your jumping, you practice your skiing, you practice your walking. But a big majority of building your strength that many of us miss, that we work on here, is, hey, we want to remind you, like, hey, water the roots. Keep watering the roots. And just because you watered the roots one time doesn't mean that that you can take a break. You got to keep watering the roots and do all the other stuff that I don't know about planting, but like that keeps the plant healthy. Not just focus on, oh my gosh, I'm losing my fruits, I'm losing my flowers. It's like, oh my gosh, you got to work on the health and function of the main stems and the main roots of that plant. Hope that made sense from not a gardener, but I was thinking the strength training and the MAT is where it comes down to. Because if you think of anything active that you do with your life, it's like, okay, if I'm going to use my knee for running, hey, at strength training and MAT, we make sure your knee is functioning as the best knee that it can be. So that way you can use it in anything that you want to do. If you are going to be doing, horse riding, and you feel like I need to strengthen my spine for horse riding, well, you just really need to strengthen your spine to be an amazing spine. So that way when you go to do, horse riding, it feels great. And when you go to bend over, it feels great. So it's not just about the fruits, even though that's where we see us losing our abilities the most. It's really about also coming back to what is the almost like the basic. Can we get your strength and can we get your function as high as possible and keep it as high as possible?
Exactly. And so that's the one thing that we have seen to be universally true about all bodies for our entire career is they have the ability to change in a positive way. As long as you're focusing on prioritizing the things that can change the fastest, which within us is our muscles, our muscular system, how our nervous system interacts with our muscles. You focus on prioritizing the strength and the function of your muscles, and you will see that your body can continue to change in a positive way for the longest time throughout your life. So how do we go about doing that? Again, muscle activation techniques and strength training are the two keys to making sure you can keep doing that. If you would like to experience muscle activation techniques and you're in the Chicagoland area or willing to travel to the Chicagoland area, that is our specialty here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. There you'll find a big green button you can click that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for giving us your ears, your eyeballs, wherever you are watching or listening to us. We always appreciate it. Share, like, subscribe, do all the things. Give this episode to somebody that feels like their body is just on a downward trend. There's nothing they can do about it. Help them to understand there's a lot that they can do about it as long as they are prioritizing the right things. There are not these hard and fast deadlines of you only have 6 months or however long to make changes within your body. You can continue to make positive change within your body for a long time throughout your life as long as you're prioritizing the right things. And for us, that comes from muscle activation techniques and consistently doing strength training. Well, again, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Wishing you a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.